I am back, and you are comfortably zoned with me, the Zigzag Man, in Alameda, California, bi-coastal. Today, we're going to take you to New Jersey, where Peter Drunk, who was a guest 2, 3, 4 weeks ago, coming back. We got a lot to talk about today because the Mets made a hell of, well, not just one deal. They made 4 or 5 deals to help themselves. They had a little downtime, a little down period when Mejia gets suspended, but they make up for it, and they're on the way. I want to talk to Brooklyn Dodger historian, welcome Brooklyn Dodger historian, and Mets fan, and all-around good human being, Peter Trunk from New Jersey. Peter, welcome back, man. You're zoned.
Thank you very much, Ralph. It's always a pleasure to be with you. It's always It's always
this is our third time, and we have fun. And
I believe it. I believe it is our third time. Yeah.
Yeah, and this is going to be a good one because our Mets are on a roll. They're going up, but I want to save it a little. First, we have some uncompleted business. Last time we talked about being a Dodger fan, and
right.
I was a Giant fan.
Back in the day, right.
Back in the day, and people don't remember, a lot of people, given the fact that my demographic is not just people who are on the deathbed, but young folks. I looked at some numbers. It's amazing. Young people that I think have a lot to learn from all my baseball discussions with the people that I bring on, and discussions about people, life itself. And I'm thrilled that my demographic is young, so I almost have to apologize and go back to some that know that there was a Brooklyn Dodgers and a New York Giants. Not the San Francisco Giants, not the Los Angeles Dodgers, but those teams played in the borough of New York, and there were 3 teams playing in in the city of New York, 3 teams playing 3 separate boroughs, and of the 5. And we were blessed. We grew up with National League ball and American League ball in the 50s and late 40s and the 50s. It was terrific. So what I'd like, Peter, you are the most knowledgeable Brooklyn Dodger fan I know, and I'm not just blowing smoke. You're on Baseball Fever website, on the Brooklyn Dodger site, which is a baseball almanac rendition of Facebook. And you and I have talked literally for years. It's going on 8 or 9 years now that we've been going back and forth with our memories and keeping the memories alive for not only ourselves, but for the future. This is stuff that's on the internet that people could look back on. We're actually writing history with the show itself and what we blog and talk about. And I consider myself to be your counterpart as a very knowledgeable and avid New York Giant fan. I think you'll agree. We love both teams. You love the New York Giants. I love the Brooklyn Dodgers, even though we rooted and hated against them when we were kids. Am I correct? We love their memories.
I think you're 100% correct. I don't think anybody could really understand what that means, though, especially when you're talking about your young demographic. I don't think they really could get that. I mean, they could hear us say that, but they really, it was fun back then. It was a wonderful, wonderful time for baseball because, number one, we were little kids. I mean, I was 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, whatever. And those are the years that baseball meant everything to you. You didn't have any bills to pay. You didn't have any job to go to. You didn't really have to do anything except enjoy what you enjoyed. And in the summertime, springtime until the fall, that was the baseball. And I lived in Brooklyn, and one of the things that was different back then was that not everyone had a television set. I know that's going to blow a lot of people's mind. What do you mean you didn't have a television set? We have 6 television sets. Okay, fine. Back then, a lot of my family and my friends had no television set. So when your mom and dad would say, we're going to visit Aunt so-and-so on Sunday, right away your brain would say, wait a minute, that's the aunt with the television set downstairs. I could watch the Dodgers on TV instead of listening on the radio. And you would say, yeah, let's go to see Aunt so-and-so. And you would go there, and sure enough, you'd get over there and you'd say to your aunt, hi, how you doing? I love you and all that stuff. And, yes, I would love to watch the Dodgers on your TV. And she would set me up downstairs, and all the grown-ups would go back upstairs, and I'd be down there watching the Dodgers. What a treat that was, because all we did was listen. We could only listen and picture it. So there's a lot of times I can remember when I would see a book. This is going to sound strange, too, but it's true. When I would see a Brooklyn Dodger for the first time. In other words, I remember listening about this kid, Junior Gilliam, who was an infielder for the Dodgers. He came up. He actually bumped Jackie Robinson off of second base and became Rookie of the Year in 1953. When I first saw the Dodgers on TV with Gilliam, I was stunned to see that Junior Gilliam was a black man. I had no clue. I had not an inkling that he happened to be black. I didn't know that. I didn't know that certain guys were a little bit hefty or on the verge of fat, and I didn't know that some guys were real thin and skinny. So when I would be at my aunt's house watching on TV, I would build all of this up into my memory bank and I would see that Ernie Banks was black. I didn't know that. And then I would see, whoever they were playing, and if they were playing the Giants, I would say, it would just blow my mind. It really would. And the great thing about TV, watching the Dodgers on TV, right away, all of their uniform numbers were embedded into your brain. So when you were that young, when I was that young, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, I knew every single Dodgers number and every single Giants number and every single team that came in to play the Giants just by seeing some of these games on my aunt's TV. Now, maybe another uncle or so would have a TV, and when we would go over there, I would be able to watch the game. We lived in a place in Brooklyn, in East New York section of Brooklyn, that many of the families, including our own, would live in the same building. And by that I mean there would be a four, and in this case it was a 4-family house. We lived in a 4-family house, but the other 3 families were all my uncles and aunts. So everyone...
You had an extended... Everybody loved you. Everybody was there for each other. It's a community.
So cool.
A communal manner, so cool, a communal way.
Exactly. And on many, many occasions, all 4 families would leave their door wide open. Not only unlocked, but wide open. So we'd be running in and out of, I'd be running in and out of my cousin's apartments. They would be running in and out of mine all day and night until we went to sleep. But we always listened to the Dodgers. We all discussed the Dodgers. We all knew about the Dodgers. Even the little girls, my sisters and my cousins that were going, they all knew the Dodgers. They all knew about who played where and who was pitcher and who was. They all knew everything. It was really quite a time. I'm telling you, it was dynamite. Being a Brooklyn Dodger fan was being like one of the richest kids in the world, because you had all of that family and all of that love and all of that interest, and everybody would argue and why did we trade this guy and why didn't he pick that? Why did he pull that pitcher out and why did he pinch hit for so-and-so? And what happened to Snyder? Why wasn't he playing today? And this and that. It was dynamite. It was really, really, really dynamite. And that's what we lost. When those teams pulled up stakes and moved to the West Coast, That's what we lost. We lost more than just two ball clubs. We lost a whole sense of ourselves. We lost connections and interests, and the whole spirit and the whole soul of Brooklyn was robbed by Walter O'Malley.
And it was basically, it wasn't that he didn't have a whole bunch of stuff going for him in Brooklyn. He wasn't at all struggling. It was a matter of wanting more, greed upon greed, which, and you've got to mention Robert Moses in New York. Would you put him into context of what happened? I try to tell people that it wasn't so much Mayor Wagner, who it was his watch, but Robert Moses could be one of the most culpable, besides O'Malley, culpable person for what went down with both the Giants and the Dodgers. Would you?
Here's my feeling on Moses. My feeling on Moses and Wagner, besides a host of other, a litany, if you will, of other negatives about them, neither one of them were baseball fans. They couldn't give a rat's ass about the Dodgers or the Giants. Neither one of them cared about baseball. It's not like, remember when Giuliani was the most fervent Yankee fan in the world, wearing his Yankee cap all over the place, going to games and stuff? Do you think Giuliani would have allowed Steinbrenner to move the Yankees out of the Bronx? Never in a million years.
No.
Never in a million years. But Mayor Wagner, Robert Wagner, and that guy Moses, they were not baseball fans. They were looking at a bottom line. They were looking to stay in the black and not in the red, and they didn't want to give up a nickel of this or a dollar for that. And that was really the downfall. And then, of course, you had O'Malley, who got the greatest deal in the history of deals. Forget just baseball. The greatest deal in the history of deals from the people in Los Angeles. He got such a deal out in L.A., Zig, that no one could have turned down the deal that they offered him. In fact,
they gave him the land.
The deal was so good that they had a referendum that they voted on after the Dodgers officially moved. The Dodgers came within a wisp hair of moving back because in the very beginning, because the people of Los Angeles were against, when they found out what LA was giving the Dodgers, they said, no way. And only telethons on constant TV and radio from the movie stars out in LA that were pro-Dodger moving there, all Martin Lewis and Sinatra and and Danny Thomas and all those guys, George Burns, all those guys going on TV and on the radio begging the people to vote. And by the slimmest of margins, the people of L.A. did pass that referendum that the Dodgers would get what they got. They got for nothing. They got prime real estate right in the heart of L.A. It was frightening what they got.
Yeah, absolutely.
O'Malley couldn't turn that down. Couldn't turn it down. He couldn't. And believe me, don't get the wrong idea. Don't think that I'm softening my stance on Walter O'Malley by saying that he couldn't turn down such a great deal. He never should have begun the wheels in motion in the first place, but because he was a greedy son of a bitch. But if anyone offered that to anyone who was sane, they would have accepted that deal. The deal was the greatest deal in the history of deals. They gave him the ranch. They gave him everything that he would even dream of having. They gave it. They put it on his lap and gave it to him.
But he made the original move to go to them. It wasn't like they
what
came
happened
to him.
Here's what happened. The rumor, the very strong rumor, which O'Malley was in on, was that Los Angeles was offering the Washington Senators a franchise out in Los Angeles. And during the 1956 World Series, the owner of the Senators, Calvin Griffith,
right.
was offered by Los Angeles, a person high up, high-ranking official from Los Angeles. He was offered in Ebbets Field, sitting in Ebbets Field, watching the 56 World Series. He was offered a franchise in L.A., and O'Malley wrote on a piece of paper, do not make any deal until you talk with me, and he had one of the ushers bring it over to the L.A. contingent, sitting maybe a section or two to the left or right. And the guy brought it over, and the guy read it, and they hand signal or whatever. And my feeling is that right after the World Series in 1956, the deal was struck. Because when the Dodgers went to Japan to play baseball games against the Japanese,
right, as the World Series victor, right.
O'Malley stopped in L.A., okay? The team went to Japan and came back from Japan. O'Malley did not. O'Malley went from LaGuardia Airport to L.A. and
got off, and they made another
under
connection.
the radar, made the deal. So when the Dodgers came back from Japan, that deal was sealed. So all of that BS that we all heard early in 1957, oh, let's fight for the Dodgers to stay, and let's keep the Dodgers in Brooklyn. Let's keep the Dodgers in Brooklyn because Brooklyn fits the Dodgers like a glove. You know, all those things, the pins and the hats that was all BS. O'Malley had it all figured out. He sold Sal Magley, a couple of other guys. He couldn't afford to win the pennant in 1957. If he won the pennant in 1957, how the hell can you pull up stakes and move 2,600 miles away? So
as if 2 years after winning the World Series, you can.
Exactly. So he hurt that. He even the other rumors were that he was hurting attendance. When you would call to get seats for a Dodger game, you would be told it was sold out. And then you would find out in the next day's Daily News there were only 9,000 people there. So he was even cutting back on the seats so he could plead his case.
Justify.
The NL owners, you know, well, I'm not drawing anything, just like Horace Soma. I'm not drawing anybody here. I got to move. When no one really knew, he had already made the deal. The deal was done. It was done. It was done. And that's what happened.
Okay, kind of sad. So I take you to the moment they moved when they played their last game, and I'll tell you that when the Giants played their last game, turns out the 57 Braves were in the World Series. And there's a book that recently came out. It's called Bush. Well, it's been out 2 years. I just picked it up. It's in paperback, but it's been out 2 or 3 years. And some of the people they interview have passed away in the meantime, including Johnny Logan, one of my favorites. Frank Torrey passed away recently. I rooted very hard. I was a heartbroken 11-year-old, as you were, 10, 11, whatever we were. And,
11 years old.
Just about to turn 11.
Going to turn 11 in late August that year of 57.
Okay, all right. So
like 10.
1946, baby boomers.
Yes.
The originals. And we are. And this book is the wild saga of the 1957 Braves and the screwball sluggers of the beer swig. This is the subtitle: The Beer Swiggers Who Canned the New York Yankees and Changed Baseball. And it's my contention that the way they changed baseball wasn't necessarily in the 57 season, because 57 season, they beat the Yankees, but they also beat the Dodgers to get there, the Giants to get there. Cincinnati was a hell of a good team. St. Louis has always been a good team. Remember, these are the
it seems like since I'm born, the St. Louis Cardinals have a hell of a ball club. Every year. It seems that way.
To this moment.
I think, right, exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. Isn't that something?
Got to give them a lot of credit. One of the teams that I could have gone, we had options to go into. Your team moves. Are you going to support them? Are you going to support them when they move out there? Hard to get. The Giants had recreation. Win Elliott would have a recreation show. Les Kiter, not Win Elliott. Les Kiter would have this recreation show, and bam, he'd hit the thing, and then off the wall.
It hits the wall. Right.
Goes
exactly.
Cepeda. And I didn't know what the hell Cepeda was. Is he Puerto Rican? Is he Dominican? All we knew is the baby bull. They hadn't yet come in to play the Mets. The Mets weren't even born. It was crazy times for a kid we both knew we weren't going to be Yankee fans.
Let me ask you a question, Zig. Let me ask you a question. Yeah. When the Giants came back to play the Mets in '62 in the Polo Grounds, did you root for the Giants?
No.
Did you root for the Giants?
No, I rooted for the Mets. When the Mets were born, I said, "Hey, I'm a Met fan." And some of my friends, they were San Francisco Giant fans. Yep. I was an apologist. I didn't want them to lose to the Dodgers. I loved Willie. I came to love that '62 team. Was terrific. I rooted for them like hell to win it. But when it came to the Mets and the Giants, no matter what it meant for either team, I rooted for the Mets and always have, only because they didn't leave me when I was 10, and the Giants did.
Good point.
That's it. And there are times I think, man, I'm more of a Brooklyn Dodger fan than a New York Giant fan, only because my aunt lived on Bedford Avenue. You could see, we went to the Ebbets Field, you could see her house from home plate, her apartment building. And everybody in my family was a Dodger fan, except me. But when I was out on the corner debating it all with my buddies, we had guys that were either Giants fans, Yankee fans, or Dodger fans. And,
sure.
And when you're a kid, you're influenced by, it got you into debate, into communication, into arguments, and how to not have arguments escalate into fist fights. We never had any of that. We just learned to use our communication skills, and we channeled it through baseball. If it could have been anything, if we were anthropologists, it could have been this, that, or the other thing. But
right.
Ours was baseball, and we got that skill, and our memory is filled with what others might consider to be trivia, but very untrivial things, very real things that aren't trivial, I mean to say. And that's how we got to go through life, and that's our connect to our youth, and it's our connect, our memories to our parents, grandparents who took us to these games. Still have the memory of Don Larson's perfect game, and sitting on the couch, sitting in the chair. My mother's on the couch watching it, and she says, "You do remember I went to Lou Gehrig's speech in 1939, and that I was at that game." So she really felt it tingling for for her Yankee roots then. And I still say that last pitch was high and outside, or should have been.
Me too, right? That's right.
Dale Mitchell.
Right. Horrible call.
But on the other hand, I say that Jackie was safe sliding into Yogi. So go figure.
Oh, sure. That was 55. Yes.
Right.
Well, you have brought both of us. Maybe 2.5, 3 minutes ago to the year of 1957. And
I'll get back on.
Wait a minute. You brought us to a very cool place, and that is it's amazing to me. You were a Giant fan. I was a Dodger fan. The Dodgers and the Giants were still playing in New York City. The regular season now is over, and the Milwaukee Braves are going to take on the vaunted Yankees in the '57 World Series. And you and I, we didn't even know each other back then, of course.
Right.
You and I jumped with both feet, both arms, our heads, our brains, our butts, everything, right onto the Milwaukee boat, and we rooted our ass off for them. And thank God for Lou Burdett. Thank God for Lou Burdett. And they beat the Yankees in the World Series, and we're sitting on top of the world as if the Giants or the Dodgers had beaten them. I don't understand that to this day, but it's true.
Right.
I don't understand it. But we loved
I don't either, but
it.
a lot of it was the National League. Back then, the National League would play against the American League in the All-Star game, and it wasn't an exhibition to us.
No,
to
it
them.
wasn't.
They really wanted to win that game.
Absolutely. You're right.
From the
You're
top. Right. So there was a lot of rivalries, and I remember watching, I remember seeing a VCR or whatever the hell it was of the Boys of Summer. And it was naturally written, it was like a documentary going to talking to all these players and spring training.
I've seen it, yeah. I've seen it, right.
Okay. And you get to the Yankees, and they had Lopat, it might have been Ali Reynolds. They had a bunch of guys interviewed. Must have been
Vic Raschi,
Raschi in the bullpen, just sitting around talking. And they put the camera on them, and it must have been about 53 when I think the Boys of Summer were the Boys of Summer. I think the Dodgers had the best team they ever had was in 53. Jackie started going downhill after that a little bit. They were as good as they were going to get, and they lost that World Series. And it must have been the spring training of the next year when this little clip of video was, and the absolute disdain by the Yankees, like, well, we're the Yankees.
Right.
It was like, oh, they're the Dodgers. We're the Yankees. We have to expect it. No, it was you're 1-7, I think, if I'm not mistaken, and the Yankees 1-7. They happened to just beat the best team, I thought, until the 57-58 Braves were as good as any of those teams. But my point is
57-58 Braves are great. Go ahead.
Yeah, my point is the Yankees had this arrogance, it's like rooting for U.S. Steel. They can go out and get a Bud Daly. They can go out and get anybody they wanted. Johnny Mize, you just put him in a Yankee uniform, he plays great. No, he's great to begin with, as Leonard Copper used to say. They're using him in a good position where they can make him, and limit guys like that. And they'd go out and buy the world. We're the Dodgers. We were humans. We were the people, and they were management. That's how I look.
Very well put.
We couldn't become Yankee fans. We just couldn't. It was too much. It was different. It was an inferior league other than the Yankees. Not that the league was inferior, because everybody that was great in the rest of the league all came from the Yankees. Sherm Lawler, Gus Strandes, all these guys were Jackie Jensen. They were all ex-Yankees. They were sold off to the lower of the teams, to the Senators or Kansas City. The great prospects were in return for win-now players, and George Weiss was a genius, and he had the backing of.
He was also a racist. He was a genius,
no question
but he was
about
a racist. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
You took up with the Boston Red Sox, and I must say, the Boston Red Sox were the most racist organization. Even more so than the Yankees.
Yes. Under ownership and management back then, they certainly were. I would agree 100%. They were horrible. They had a chance to sign Willie Mays and Jackie Robinson and turned them both down.
Yeah, guys running the team, Pinky Higgins and these guys, These guys
Cronin,
wouldn't play with
Joe Cronin.
Yeah, Cronin. They horrible human beings and cretins of people. Yet, you still, when you look at the Red Sox, you think of Johnny Pesky, you think of Dom DiMaggio playing center, and that's
Bobby
how it
Dorr,
should be.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like when I think of the Dodgers, I try not to even think of O'Malley. I try not to think of. I try to think instead of Campanella. Maybe they should have brought Campy in to work with Branca a little bit. Maybe they shouldn't have brought Branca in. But there's all kinds of memories that I have. I'll give you time, too, to talk about what I consider to be the scandalous New York Giants and how that 51 pennant was stolen from the Dodgers. I bet you think that.
Well, you know what? First of all, my feelings on 1951 is that I look at it from a baseball historical standpoint. And the reason for that is that I was only 5 years old when that happened. Okay,
right.
I was too young. I do remember stories in my family of my father and his brothers and the rest of my uncles, his brothers-in-law and stuff, drinking very hard into the night after that game was over, and I have no recollection of it, but I heard stories from my mother and my older brother and stuff like that. And I also read the same books that you have read. I read the Arnold Hanno book about the bleachers, and I read the
Day in the Bleachers, yeah.
Right, The Day in the Bleachers. I also read that wonderful book, The Echoing Green, about they were signaling what pitch was coming and this and that and this and that. I always heard before he passed away that Bobby Thompson said he personally did not get the pitch. And I happen to believe him because knowing what I knew about Bobby Thompson, I think he would have said, yeah, I got the pitch if he got it. And he said he didn't get it, so I take him at his word. He was a religious guy. He lived with his mom. He was not a liar or a drinker or a brash pain in the ass or anything like that.
None of that.
So I have to hand it to Bobby Thompson. He hit the ball out, and that was it. But I'm thinking to myself, of course I was too young at the time, but now I can go back and look at history, and I could see that Branca had an awful record against the Giants that season in 1951. Right. He had given up home run after home run after home run. I don't know why they brought him in. And I also don't believe that they brought him in and he threw fastball after fastball. What happened to his slider? Why couldn't he throw the guy a slider? Then I hear all of these stories. Here's what I just read this the other day. This will make you smile. Someone of note, too. It wasn't just a clown like you or me. It was someone who played the game. I can't remember who the hell it was, but it was an ex-Major League ball player. And he said that ball that Branca hit wouldn't have reached.
Thompson hit.
Would not have reached the warning track at Ebbets Field. I don't know about that, Zig.
Well,
don't know about that.
That was a very close.
He hit a line drive into the lower.
But it was. I know, but that was
really
the same.
Right
those were the same dimensions that both teams played with for 9 innings. So I'm not
exactly.
You can't,
exactly.
You
that
can't
doesn't impress me at all. It doesn't
right.
impress me at all. And then I read something else from another guy who was older than you and I. Imagine that, older than you and I. But there's a
must be his memoirs.
There's a guy on Brooklyn Dodger Memories who swears that he's about 75, 76 years old. He swears that the 51 team was the greatest team of all time for the Dodgers. He was better than 53. He said statistically the 53 team was great. He said, but he was a teenager back then, or he was 12 or whatever, and he remembers the 51 Dodgers. That was Robinson's apogee. That was the best year. 49, Jackie broke all kinds of records, drove in 124 runs, won the MVP. But he said Jackie was still a great great hitter in 51, and Snyder and Hodges and Campanella and Ferrella were all coming into their own. He said that was the team that had Preacher Rowe, that won all those games and hardly lost any at all. He lost like 2 or 3 games that year. He said the 51 Dodgers were so great. He said it was unbelievable. He said they were incredible. What a team. He said they were just deep and they were dynamite. And, you know, being 5 years old, I can't really say that I could remember that team. So I will have to just go back and look at the records and everything. That was a dynamite team that the Giants caught and beat. The Giants also went, I wish I had this in front of me. I don't. But the Giants' last 50 games were like ridiculous. Remember the Dodgers last year, the Los Angeles Dodgers last year, went on like a 42-8 run in 50 games?
Right. Yes.
Well, that's what the Giants did in 51. They were like 36-4 or 34-6 or whatever. They went on an incredible run. It's not like the Dodgers choked it up. The Dodgers were playing regular baseball.
Absolutely.
The Giants were torrid. The Giants were on fire. They couldn't lose. They just won day after day.
I just want to clarify, getting back to the spirit of the book that you recommended that I read, which was The Echoing Green, about, I think I must have read it about 5 or 6 years ago. Then it took about a year for me to digest it, because as a New York Giant fan, I'm the same age you are. It's just the memories and the legend of Bobby Thompson, you know. Lockman leads away from second, kind of thing. He'll be running like the wind if Thompson hits one, and there it goes. The Giants win the pennant, Giants win. That was we live for that as Giant fans. But I'll tell you, I got through that book, and I want to disagree with you on one thing. Thompson knew it was coming. He knew the pitch. He did get it. He had to hit it. That you got to give him credit for that.
Let's suppose, just for 1 second, let's say for 1 second he didn't get it. But just play along with this for a second. What pitch do you think he was waiting for? He was waiting on Cheddar. He was waiting on dead red. He knew, as a baseball player, he knew it was going to be a fastball.
But
and if it was middle in, he was jumping on it.
Right, but if you have a hunch, then you're a hunch hitter, and that's one thing. You're a 280 hitter. But if you know it's coming, you're a 520 hitter. You know what I'm saying, or whatever the hell it is.
Yes, you do. But remember, if he knew what was coming on that pitch, he knew what was coming on the first pitch. And the first pitch was even better. The first pitch was right
and he took it. And he took it. Yeah, so
if he knew the pitches, he would have swung at that one.
Well, he would have, but
that's my feeling. He was looking middle in, and he got that up and in, and he tomahawked it right into the stands.
Yeah, and it was what it was, but I really think he had the pitch. Just from the interview with the guy, and just the tone of his interview, of his last interview with the guy who wrote the book. And remember, this isn't Joe Slobotnik writing the book. This is a Wall Street Journal author who's has credit.
Who won a Pulitzer Prize, I think. He won some sort
I don't know
of
if he won it. Right. I don't know if it was for that book.
No, I don't think it was for that book. It was for something else. But the guy was not a hack, let's put it like that.
Exactly. And he wasn't looking for a quick story. I'll tell you the story.
You want to hear a really great footnote to the 51 Dodgers? Here's a great footnote to the 51 Dodgers. Here you go. Walter O'Malley had new uniforms made up for the Dodgers with red numbers in the front because of color TV and the ensuing 1951 World Series that the Dodgers already had printed tickets for against the Yankees. And he was going to break out these uniforms with the red numbers on the front. And when the Dodgers lost, he had to wait till spring training of 52 to break them out. And that's why the Dodgers had red numbers on the front of their uniforms from 1952 on.
Wow.
True story. That was all for television. And they have the red numbers to this day. They only got the red numbers on the front of the road uniforms in 1959 when they were in the World Series against the Chicago White Sox as the Los Angeles Dodgers.
Right. Well, it's actually, yes, in 59 they did play, and it was 65 when they came right back and played Minnesota. If I'm not.
Well, 63 they swept the Yankees.
Yes. And 62, the Giants, amazingly, both on the West Coast.
Well,
playoff.
62 was my 1951. I watched all of those games. All of those games were televised either on CBS or NBC or whatever. All those playoff games were on TV. And I watched in horror almost the exact same thing where the Dodgers were up and in the third and final game, like 4-1 or something, and Stan Williams came in, and he just kept walking people, and the Giants won. It was 1951 for me, because in 51 I was only 5, but in 62 I was much older, and I understood the game, and I understood what was happening, and it broke my heart because, okay, the Mets had already been born, but when I went to see the Dodgers in 62 at the Polo Grounds, I wore an LA hat. I was rooting for the Dodgers. I was rooting for Koufax. I was rooting for Snyder and Hodges. I was rooting for the Dodgers. Okay, so in '62 when they played the Giants, I was all set for the World Series, and the Giants once again came off the floor and beat the Dodgers to get into the World Series, and it was 1951 revisited for this old man right here, speaking for myself.
I could appreciate that. Hey, let's talk a little Mets ball
let's talk a little Mets.
Well, the time. All right. So they got the guy that I thought they should have gone for a long time in Cespedes.
Is it a rental?
Probably, but if they win, so they have a good chance. Won't they have a better chance of signing him? Even because they rented him?
I hope they do. I hope they do, because if he's a rental, this could come back to bite Sandy Alderson in the ass, because the kid he gave up, Fulmer, that pitcher, scouts say that kid could be inserted into any major league rotation right now. That's how good Fulmer is.
But the rotation the Mets have right now, wouldn't allow for that. What with
I'm having trouble hearing you.
Oh, I'm just saying. Is this better?
No, I can barely hear you.
Then let's do this.
Very, very faint. Oh, that's good.
Then, is this better?
I can hear you fine. Yes.
Okay, haven't moved an inch, but I'm glad your thing is coming in better. So you can make that case, but if they didn't get a bat, they're dead for the season. The envelope of great pitching is open with them. You know how pitching goes. You know DeGrom could be gone tomorrow. You know that whatever they have is not whatever they think Harvey's going to be, hope Harvey's going to be. Now is when they have him. He could be this, that, and the down the road, but by the same token, he could come up lame again down the road.
Yeah.
So keeping the envelope open, and at least he went out, Alderson did, he got us a bench. Whoever plays,
I love when he got Johnson. Johnson and Uribe were excellent deals.
Right. And not having to give up
Johnson and Uribe, right.
Okay, not having to give up Flores to get the big hitter. You got the potential of Wright and Bjorn coming back very shortly now. Wright's going to go out on rehab to Florida, Port St. Lucie. Bjorn's coming back. They're deep at catcher. Mets deep at catcher. Mets deep at third. What are you saying? This is unbelievable. You didn't have to move. You put Cespedes in left. You didn't have to put Granderson in center. Or you are going to put Granderson in center. Is that the idea? Is that what they're doing?
Well, Lagares has a bad elbow. Lagares might need Tommy John.
Really? All right.
Yeah, he's got a bad elbow. And I'll tell you
so
something
going.
else. How about the game that they were winning? How about the game that they were winning when it started to rain? Just 3 games ago. They were winning the game with the rain came, and the rain, they had like a 2-hour wait or a 3-hour wait. They come back on the field, and they blow that game 8-7. They had 2 strikes with 2 outs. They had 2 strikes with 2 outs, and they blow that game 8-7. That is not a pennant-winning team that does a thing like that.
But a pennant-winning team is the team where the guy who blew the game, Familia, comes back in the next 2 games and pitches one of those games with a 5-man, 8th and 9th, 5 guys.
5 outs, right. I saw
and
that. He comes back. He showed guts coming back, right.
He showed guts coming back. So, as we know, relief, these are humans. Guy goes out, blows a save. Fuck, they save 8 out of 10.
Sure.
They're humans.
Yep.
I'll give you that.
Yep.
Parnell coming back, that helps him. Losing Mejias, that hurts him. Ups, downs, little things. But Cespedes, I watched him out here with the A's. He looks like his body is like Willie Mays. He's solid as hell. He's got power. He's a good ball player, and I'm partial to Cubans. When my father escaped the war to come here, he had to go through Cuba because Joe Kennedy Sr. was sending back, he was the ambassador to England, and he was sending back refugee ships to England at that time. So my father had to emigrate through Cuba to get here eventually. So I'm partial to Cubans. Minnie Minoso was one of my favorites when I was a kid. Chico Carrasquel, all these guys were. It was cool. Point being, I have good vibes with Cespedes. I have good vibes with this Met team. Remember how many injuries they've had, and to get this far, they're like 2-3 games over 500, but nobody's running away with it. They're only a game out in
they're 4 games above 500. They face a very, very tough pitcher today in Ryan Zimmerman, but Syndergaard's going. We'll see what happens.
Right.
You know, if they win, they're tied.
Yeah.
If they win, they're tied.
But you're right. And if they lose, they're 2 games out. If they would have lost the other game, it would have been 4 games out. So, these are the dog days. But
what do you hear? What do you hear about Steven Matz? You hear that Steven Matz is on the mend, or what? I don't hear anything.
I don't hear anything at all now that I think about it. He hasn't entered my mind, but
boy, he really impressed me. He impressed me not only pitching, but he's 3 for 6.
Right, absolutely, helping himself. You don't find many pitchers. Reminds me of Don Newcomb helping himself. Don Newcomb was one hell of a hitter, right?
Yep.
So, but they're deep, and they're in it, and I mean, if you're listening out there, if we're just on cloud 9, the Mets haven't been above 500 for the last 5 years.
At this point in the season, right, exactly.
Right. They're still paying Bobby Bonilla. How does that make us feel as Mets fans? Everything
They're still paying Johan Santana.
Right.
They're still paying.
I don't know if their insurance kicked in on that one.
I wish they were paying me, Zach.
Right. Well, money can't buy you. That's the problem. See,
there you go.
If they paid you, they'd get your editorial consent, and that wouldn't be right.
There you go.
All right. Hey, you're tremendous. I love having you on. I love thinking about the old days.
I love being on. You're a great host, Dig.
Oh, thank you, man. It's the only thing I could do. I can't tie my shoes anymore. Tally comes in here and has to feed me. No, she doesn't. And no, yes, I can. I'm going to end I buy loafers. I don't have to buy shoes with laces. I solved that one a long time ago. See, yeah, you got to think somehow, huh? Yep. I'm going to end the episode the way I do most everyone. I'm going to implore you, my friend Peter, and my listening audience, to keep your humor dry, keep your dreams wet, keep your kids out of military recruiting stations. They will not serve your family well. These are people that will lie to your kid, get you in the military service where they're under what they call the Military Code of Justice. It's a lot different. That means they could send you to war and you can't say, no, I'll stay home. You got a war going on for imperialism. You're just taking oil. You're just bombing somebody else's babies. No. Don't participate. Find a way out of participating. Get on the streets. Stop the war. Get a sign. And, by all means, keep your kids off the laps of clerics that wear dresses, just to be on the safe side. And in my friend Sherry always reminds me that one bad apple doesn't spoil the whole bunch. But 380,000 bad apples spoil a lot of bunches. So to be on the safe side, everybody isn't a bad guy because they're religious cuckoos, but they're religious cuckoos, and that's why they're in business. So goes around, comes around. Keep your kids out of there. Keep your kid out of catechism without parental supervision. Adults need to watch. And keep on keeping on. Thanks, Peter. You're terrific.
Thank you, Ralph.
All right. Over and out.
Bye-bye.